for doing that. Madam President Burke, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Thank you, and if we can all remember the courage and sacrifice of our active military, our veterans, and our first responders as we give pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you please conduct a roll call?
Councilmember Castillo.
Here.
Councilmember Dane.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Green.
Here.
Councilmember Welty.
Here.
Mayor Smith.
Here.
All present.
All right, closed session report. I'm going to look at the city attorney who's not here and ask if there's anything to report out of closed session. We do have one thing to report out of closed session, I believe, Madam Clerk, and that is that we added something.
We did add an item to the agenda. It was a conference with legal counsel. I will suggest that we circle back to the city attorney when he arrives.
Perfect. All right, approval of city council agenda. Again, I need to ask city manager if there are any changes. I don't think there was. He hasn't indicated that there was. I need a motion and a second to,
Mr.
for
Mayor,
which one?
there was, in addition, it was an urgency item that came up after the agenda was posted.
Perfect. So we have, we actually have an urgency item, and then we have actually two items. So we want to do the discussion item that's added, and then we also want to discuss a standing committee as well. So I'll make that known as of right now, if that works. Is that
Okay.
good?
Yep, so your motion will be to approve the agenda with the addition of the urgency item and the discussion item.
Perfect, with those two. So I need a motion on that.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Castillo.
Aye.
Councilmember Dane.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Green.
Aye.
Councilmember Welty.
Aye.
Mayor Smith.
Aye.
Motion carried to approve the agenda with the addition of the urgency item and the discussion item.
Perfect. Moving right along to ceremonial matters. This is the fun part. Yes. All right. Timothy, come join me, please. Can I call you Tim or Timothy? I can call you Tim. All right, you're family now. O'Mara, is that correct? All right. This is awesome. I know that Councilwoman Castillo just told me about this is the perfect time to give our Citizen of the Month because we just had our grand opening at the firehouse on Saturday, and a lot of it was thanks to your help. This man before us helped out with a lot of renovations. You did the cabinets in the kitchen. You did all the new, the tabletop that's in there as well. I think you did some drywall. So you came through probably more than expected. I'm sure the chief is very appreciative of that. So we want to honor you on behalf of myself and the council of all the hard work that you did. But before you get this certificate, you got to tell us a little bit about the time that went into what you did and what you discovered and what you helped us fix over there.
A lot of time went into it. The majority we were on shift. I got to do it with the guys and our reserves, and it was a good time. It was a learning experience. We all got to work together. We outfitted the engine so everybody can see that out front. That's ready to go now, and as well as cleaning and housekeeping of the station, taking care of a lot of faulty electrical and plumbing, and making sure it's safe for us and it is an enjoyable place for us to work. So I really appreciate the opportunity for letting us do that and take care of it.
Well, I appreciate it. Well, on behalf of the city council, we want to present this certificate to you. Citizen of the Month, we can't thank you enough. Seriously,
very
we
much,
appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, let's do a quick photo. All right. All right, next we have the proclamation, which is right here. All right, let's see here. I want to make sure I get her name right. All right, Sandy, is that correct? You're going to be joining us. Can you come up here if you don't mind? I'm excited to be able to give you this proclamation on behalf of our council. I think it's clear that the American Red Cross does so much, not only for Canyon Lake, but for Riverside County. I'm going to actually let you tell us a little bit about what it's like being involved with such a phenomenal and well-known organization, and give us a little insight to that.
Okay. With the Red Cross, you could go just about anywhere in your career as a volunteer. We have a lot of training requirements so that people that are coming to a disaster from California, Maine, or Mississippi all do things the same way. That's been a learning curve over the years, but it's working. A lot of people grumble about taking training, but once you get deployed, you're very happy that you are required to take it. I'm from the Riverside chapter of the Southern California region of the Pacific Division of the American Red Cross.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is. We're in a very active region, as you all know. We had a fire that didn't amount to anything much this afternoon up in Cleveland for us. No dwellings were involved. That's when we step in, is when the cities or the counties ask us to come in and help with sheltering, or sometimes with feeding the troops that are there, the firemen, the tree handlers, PG&E, the police, and we'll canteen them while they're doing their jobs sometimes. But we help anyone that is displaced. Our biggest pride and help in our soul are home fires. And when we are notified that people are being displaced because of their home fire, we get in touch with first the fire chief on scene and find out how many people are displaced. And we send a crew out of 2 people to assess their loss. And we find them lodging for the duration and stay in touch with them, give them a little money for their housing and other needs. And we follow them through our caseworkers to make sure they're fine. On the other side, when we're deployed to long-term disasters like a hurricane, a flood, our Northern California wildfires that never seem to stop, it's a much bigger operation, and we could have as many as 500 volunteers on site to house people and take care of their food and make sure that all of their needs are being met and keep in touch to see who could go back to their homes as they're released. And then we all have our assignments through our training on what we're going to do. So I'm sad to say that Canyon Lake only has one other volunteer besides myself. So I'm hoping that someone has some time in their hands. They love to help people, and their time is a little flexible. If that's true of yourself, please go to redcross.org, and you can navigate in there through your zip code first, and it'll put you in touch with people that can direct you in the right way.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.
So on behalf of the city, I want to give you this proclamation recognizing of American Red Cross Month, because that's what this is. So thank you so much for all your dedication and all your service. We really appreciate it. And there you go.
Thank you for all your guys.
We're going to do one quick photo.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. All right, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect. You want me to go back?
Yeah, city attorney, if we can just have a closed session report.
Thank you. The city council added an item to closed session before the closed session started. This was City of Canyon Lake v. Jensen. By a vote of 5-0, the city council gave settlement direction on that item. As for the remainder of the items on closed session, there's no reportable action at this time. Thank you, Mayor.
Perfect. We good?
We're good.
Okay, awesome. All right, we're moving into community reports. Let's start off with our president, President Burke, EVMWD. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, staff.
residents and guests. A couple things. First, I wanted to congratulate you on an amazing grand opening event. What was really nice was not just that the community came out, but the region came out. So
Absolutely.
I think that when you look at being a leader within our region, I think Canyon Lake has stepped up to do that, and I was very proud to be a part of it, and congratulations. I wanted to mention also that at our last Thursday's board meeting, we had a public hearing, our second public hearing for redistricting, and we adopted revised maps. So I retained the city of Canyon Lake, Canyon Hills, Temescal, Tuscany, and Meadowbrook. There are parts of I-74 that have gone on to Division 2 to Director Ryan, which is more of the multifamily areas near and very, just east of Walmart. So I had the biggest division, so I had to cut the most people. So they are approved, and the maps are on our website. We are having a water leak detection workshop for the community on March 16th in our offices from 5:30 to 6:30, and then a number of online WaterWise landscaping workshops, which means you can find out about rebates. You can actually learn how to turn your sprinkler timers off or turn them down, maybe when it's raining, and so we won't be the most wasteful division at Elsinore Valley, which would be very helpful. One of the items that I am dealing with on a regional basis is Metropolitan Water District. They are proposing an 8% rate increase this year, followed immediately by another 8% rate increase. Although they talk about affordability and wanting to work with disadvantaged communities, I'm very concerned about our residents that are on fixed income or our seniors. We do have a RARE program that helps, but I don't know if we'll be able to continue to fund that at the rate in which Metropolitan is raising its rates. And as you look at our lake water treatment plant is offline, which is great for the lake level, but that means we have to buy more imported water. So really trying to understand what their thinking is. They had proposed 81 new staff, which fully encumbered is about $32 million a year alone, and that does not include their initiatives in their new business plan. I also wanted to mention that we will be going out for an RFP for the expansion of our wastewater treatment plant, our regional facility. That'll be over $150 million, and that's something we had to expedite based on the Regional Water Quality Control Board recommendation and compliance platform. I'm looking forward to our joint meeting on March 31st with the POA and the City Council, and I just wanted to again thank you all. I think the last few years it's been exceptional to work together. I think we've done a really good job, and I hope we can keep that communication going, and I hope the residents can see by witnessing that we are working better together. That's all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
Any questions?
A joint meeting?
We've
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. We have a joint meeting on March 31st with the POA, the City Council, and the Water District.
Yeah, I just want to make sure everybody knew and you were involved in that.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yes.
we are having a joint meeting on.
Yes,
okay,
we are.
Thank you.
One question.
Okay.
What's the next alum treatment?
That probably won't happen till closer till summer, and there's some conversation going on at different levels of whether that's the most appropriate use of treatment and funding.
Okay. I did notice that it looks like the water clarity is getting a little better as we get to cooler temperatures, but that won't last long.
No, and that's why it's so important to shut your sprinklers off so you don't have runoff.
Well, I
So
don't
all the
have-
nutrients from the plants go into the lake and feed the algae. It's just how it is.
It's a cycle.
It is.
Madam
Thank you.
President, are you able to speak on some of the renovations that we're going to be doing on Railroad Canyon Road because of our coffee meeting this
Yes,
morning?
we had a coffee meeting, and Mayor Smith brought up that he was trying to work with the POA to get some aesthetic improvements to water appurtenances on Railroad Canyon, fire hydrants, backflow cages, valve covers. And I confirmed, because I wasn't sure at breakfast, but those are our assets, and so we are going to take care of those. So hopefully your city staff can reach out to our Director of Operations, and we can facilitate that being expedited.
Yep, Mike's working on that, so thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Appreciate that. Huge help. Anything else? We good?
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming out. All right, Canyon Lake Property Owners Association. Is our president here? Okay. And then Chambers of Commerce. Jeannie's not here either. Okay. That's it for community reports. All right, moving on to public safety updates. Lieutenant Rails.
Good evening, Honorable
Thanks
Mayor,
for coming
Mayor
out.
Pro Tem. Oh, thank you for having me. I have the public safety report covering the month of February. Deputies responded to 309 calls for service, which was up 3 from the prior month. There were only 6 Part 1 crimes reported in the city of Canyon Lake. One was an aggravated assault, 2 burglaries, and 3 thefts. Deputies wrote 39 traffic citations, which is way up, which I've been pushing. 1 DUI arrest. They only investigated 1 traffic collision. And overall, there were 4 arrests made in the city, 1 for the DUI, 1 for a weapons violation, 1 for an outstanding warrant, and then 1 miscellaneous crime. So that pretty much covers the report. I also added the average response times. This isn't changed. I told you that I was going to work on changing to have 2 different calculations on there. This is still the old way. So our priority 1 response times, which is our highest priority, was 4 minutes and 13 seconds. Priority 2 calls was 23 minutes and 38 seconds. Priority 3, 24, 67. And priority 4, 45 minutes and 96 seconds. So that's our average response times. And that's all I have.
Yes, absolutely.
Great job on the traffic citations. I think the members of our community are grateful to see the more increased presence out on Railroad Canyon.
Absolutely.
I know I've seen it, and I'm thankful.
Glad to hear. I've been pushing it, so hopefully it will continue, and I will keep pushing it.
Empirical evidence says it is there. That's good.
Anything else? We all good? Thank you, Councilwoman Castillo. Good question. Good comment. We're good. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, we're moving on to code enforcement. Ruby, the floor is yours. She's shaking her head. Nope, not going to happen. Not going to do it tonight. Nothing to report. I'm out of here. Give me my gummy bears.
I'm glad I'm before the chief, that's for sure. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. So the activity report for the month of February. 2 building violations. We're currently working with the property owners to correct those. 6 citations were issued on BLM. No decrease in activity there. And down to our short-term rentals, none found for the month of February, but we are continuing to monitor sites and those locations that we are aware of that were there previously. Our residential rentals, we have 326 rental registrations, 1 renewed for the month of February, 6 new ones came in who have registered. We've conducted 14 residential inspections, 10 fire inspections, and that brings us to 64 in total for fire.
Any questions?
On your building construction violations, what are those exactly? Do you know?
There, no permits.
Oh, no building
No,
permit?
yeah, no building permits.
And they're actually building?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, are you still getting pushback on the residential rental inspections, or did people start to kind of?
They're
calm down about
coming
that.
here and there. We still have probably about 60 that we just can't get to allow us to inspect. So they're either ignoring emails, phone calls, or even contacting tenants, and we're getting no response.
Okay.
Okay. A few questions. So as far as the Airbnb situation, it's pretty good now?
It's been pretty quiet so far, so we get those to comply, and they'll register under the rental registration for 30 days. And we try to monitor them as much as we can to make sure that that is what they're doing.
Okay.
And so far, we haven't had complaints for residents, so we're hoping that they are complying and following through with that 30-day.
I know Anna kind of filled us in a little bit today on how the partnership between the POA works in regards to new tenants or updated paperwork that's taking place when new tenants take over a new ownership of that property from the landlord. How's that been working?
As far as code enforcement and POA,
As far as you getting the data you need to feel as though you're properly enforcing the rentals here in Canyon Lake?
we haven't approached them with them because I feel like so far it's been quiet and we've been monitoring them. So we haven't had the need to go and ask for any data from them.
You had mentioned that we're looking at roughly 300 rentals, is that correct, that we have on file?
Correct.
Do you feel as though that's extremely light for the community?
No, actually, so that number went up because we did have 6 more for the last month. It seems about right, but I'm pretty sure we have more.
And maybe I'm wrong, I predict we have anywhere between 600 to 800 homes that are rentals here in Canyon Lake. Does that sound completely far-fetched?
I would say about 600.
Okay, so that would probably put us at about a 50% caption rate on people that are playing ball with
Correct.
the new ordinance.
Correct.
Have we shared that information with the POA to see if we can facilitate more information so we know who is a landlord or tenant?
I have not, no.
Okay. Obviously, you can work with the city manager's office on that, but maybe we explore that relationship since they are working with us and letting us know who is a tenant and who is not. That way we don't have as many issues as maybe can happen. It's a safety issue too. I mean, this is why this ordinance was put in place. It's not just to collect fees, it's to be an asset too. But I think 360 is extremely light, just from the data that we ran when we created the program. So,
Okay.
Mayor, if I can make a comment, if the council wishes for us to rediscuss this with the POA, then I think that's something that the city manager can consider, but unfortunately, it's just a really slow process. Ruby mentioned that there were 6 additional ones that were added. Last month, when we received the leases, the copies from the POA, there was only 6 that were given to us. So it seems like we seem to have compliance, but it's just a very slow process. In December, we only received 1 copy of a new lease. So if we're only getting 1 or 2 per month, there's no way for us to get to that 800 number any quicker unless the POA shares additional information with us.
hence the possibility of having that conversation. I mean, I think since we started the partnership, they're obviously being transparent and helping and providing what's coming in, but there's a historical data there in place that would get us closer to that number, I would assume.
Right.
Dale, you could probably correct me if I'm wrong.
They probably have a list of the rentals. I think there's people out there that not only don't register with the city, but they don't register with the POA either. And we do have a large amount of homes that are vacation homes, so they're not really owner occupied like a normal home, but that simply the owners come out and let their friends come out on the weekend. So it does make our community kind of unique in that sense.
Mayor Pro Tem Green?
It's a little bit different than the rental situation, but it is occurring, and I happen to see it where a large 2-story is divided up into several rental properties, rental rooms. How are we tracking those? How are we doing on those?
Unless we can find out that that's what's going on. So we can't really go based off of, there's a lot of people living in that
Okay.
property.
Okay.
So it's going to take a lot of investigating, and that makes it a little bit complicated for us because we can knock to verify, but if they tell us no, then we can't go in there, and then now we have to turn maybe to the city attorney and see how we can
Yeah.
move forward with that.
Okay. I've just seen several that have converted a garage into 2 living spaces, plus an upstairs. So, well, I'll get with you. I didn't know if those are tracked or how we do them, but thank you, Ruby.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Any other questions for Ruby? We good? Okay, we're good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you putting up with us. All right. Chief, you are up. Have you been busy?
No, nothing going on. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor, members of council, city staff, Jeff Latendresse, your fire chief. First, if I could give a shout out to the American Red Cross and my years of service as a firefighter, being able to call in the American Red Cross at scene of a fire and having those individuals deal and work with the family that has been displaced. Sometimes they've just gotten out with their clothes off their back, and they're able to give them gift cards and covers and blankets and everything on scene. And it really is an amazing service that they provide. And even for our own residents, you can get into a damage assessment team. There's a lot from our disaster preparedness community that residents of the community could reach out and partner up with the American Red Cross. So thank you for a job well done. So, as Darcy alluded to, we had a little party on Saturday. We had our open house, and we estimate that there was well over 200 individuals that attended. I know our food vendors and the items that we bought to give away, they're gone, and we purchased them for $200, and I know there's still some hungry people walking around. So, it was busy all day long, or for the time period from 11 to 1, and I think it was very well received. We had a lot of dignitaries from our state assembly, our state senate, our surrounding communities, our regional partners, and utilities, in the fire service, and just the openness and the welcoming of the community of Canyon Lake. So it was just a spectacular event, and I think I can speak for the city manager when we will have some type of an open house on an annual event as we continue to move forward. This obviously was our grand opening for starting our new fire department. So our numbers. So month of January, we had 85 emergency responses. In the month of February, the number on the chart says 73, but as we were going through and working on the charts today, it's tough when the council meeting is on the 2nd and we're trying to pull all of our data right away. We determined that we actually had 81 responses, and what our records management program didn't show us was calls outside the city. So we had 8 emergency responses outside the city for a total of 81 that's not included in that 73. So obviously, we're a little bit slower. February is a shorter month than January by 3 days, but we're still under that 3 calls per day average that we kind of anticipated. So what type of calls are we going to? As I said, we clarified it. We had 81 calls. We had 3 fire responses. We had 55 medical responses, 1 hazardous materials or hazardous condition response, 5 service calls, 5 good intent calls, 7 false alarms or false calls, and again, 8 that were automatic or mutual aid. And I say automatic or mutual aid because in our agreement with Riverside County CAL FIRE, we have a map that identifies where we will go. I know on at least one occasion, on the 26th, we responded well into the city of Menifee for an emergency response, and it was about a 15-minute travel distance into the area. So as we saw today from the fire, when Riverside County gets busy, resources are depleted, and the opportunity for us to be called in a little bit more often is a very real occurrence. And we support that because we are going to have a need to call in them when we need assistance as well. And that's the reciprocal part of our agreements that we're looking forward to fully invoking.
Chief,
Where-
real quick, on the 3 fire responses, can you give some examples on how those went down?
They went down well. One of them was an outside, I think it was this month that we had the barbecue fire out on a patio at about, I think it was midnight. And so it was a 2-engine outside fire response. So our engine 1 and engine 94 responded. The fire was essentially out. It was smoldering when we got there. We had to do a lot of overhaul to tear apart the barbecue and do it. We have not had a full structural response into the city this month that I can recall. We did have one in the month of January, but I can't remember what the 3rd fire response was off the top of my head. So the incident types by property use. Again, obviously, medical aids are our most common type of response. And it shows 50 up there, but if you take that whole 3 category from our records management system, all those calls that include traffic accidents, so forth, are considered medical aids. So we had 55 medical aids. And over the past 2 months, the vast majority of our calls have been in residential family dwellings. So over the 2 months where we had 85 the first month and 81 the second month, 127 of those incidents have been at a single family dwelling. When are our calls occurring? Well, we saw this last month a little bit, and it really hasn't changed. From about midnight till 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, it's pretty quiet. And then during the daytime hours is when we see most of our activity, and it tapers off about 8, 9 o'clock at night, and then it kind of levels off until again the next day. So it's good for us to know when our calls are occurring so that we can keep track of them. Total response time. So this is the important part. I wanted to try to provide the definitions. I know we've talked about this a couple times. Call processing time is when a 911 call is initiated, and the time stops is when the 911 emergency unit is dispatched. So how long does it take that dispatcher to talk to the caller, to find out what's going on, to enter the information into the computer makes the recommendation for the right number of resources with the closest resources, and then it's dispatched. We still have not been able to get that information from CAL FIRE. We have asked, and we will continue to ask from their CAD. It's not information we get in our records management system that's dropped down, so we're still working on trying to get that call processing time. The turnout time is a time from dispatch until the fire engine actually goes en route. And so that's really the one component that we can control. It's the one component that we have to continue working and striving to improve on. Travel time is just that, the driving from wherever you're at, from the fire station, from a previous incident, wherever the fire engine is until it arrives on scene. The total response time is all of those times combined. So with that understanding, we can look at response time on average. This is how it used to be provided when Riverside County gave you their reports. They used what's called an average response time. So for Engine 1, in the month of February, the average dispatch time to arrival time in minutes for us was 5.61 minutes. The average apparatus en route time or travel time was 4.15 minutes. So that's the call processing and the turnout time in the first number, and then just the travel time in the second number. So a total average response time for us in the month of February for Engine 1, and Engine 1 ran all the calls in February, was 5.51 minutes. What we like to look at a little bit more is what we call the fractile time. So in this chart, we're breaking out the incidents by call type. So these would be EMS, or emergency medical incidents. And why do we want to break them out differently? Because for an EMS incident, the firefighters would, as they're dressed right now, go out to the fire engine, get on the fire engine, and start responding. If it was a wildland fire, if it was a hazardous material incident or a traffic accident, if it was a structure fire, they have to take additional time, put on their protective clothing before they can start going in route. So obviously for that type of an incident, the turnout time increases. So as we looked at the month of February, our fractile turnout time, where we were 90% of the time, we were better than 2.22 seconds. 2 minutes, 2.22 seconds. So it's a little bit longer than what we want it to be. So we're working with our crews, we're educating our crews, and we're trying to get them to move faster, to do what it, and sometimes if they're cooking, if they're using a shower or something like that, it does take a little bit of time to get to the engine and get going. So we're just cognizant of where that is. The travel time for us, again, the 90% fractile, we're getting on scene 90% of the time within 5.33 minutes. So that's our travel time. And then our overall response time, adding the turnout time and the travel time together, is 7.10 seconds. So for all calls, this is combining the other calls. Our travel time is 5.48 minutes, and our total response time for all incidents, medical and fire, is 7.08 minutes. So hopefully that's a little bit clearer on the numbers and the statistics that we're trying to provide for you. Items we're still working on, as I mentioned, we're still trying to get the call processing time so that we can provide that key link to our dispatch times. We're still working on the number of responses that the city goes outside the city. Again, we found that at the last minute today when we were getting ready for the presentation tonight. We weren't able to determine how many times CAL FIRE has come into us. Now, we could look at every incident manually, but their unit responses aren't recorded in our records management system. So it's a number that CAL FIRE has to provide to us, and it wasn't provided to us. We also need to start including our training hours, our public education hours, and our fire inspections. Now, the fire inspections we're doing right now are different than what code enforcement is doing. We're doing construction inspections, and in the month of February, I can tell you that we did 7 construction inspections on new single-family residents or rebuild of single-family residents that have a fire sprinkler system. We did have kind of a significant incident, and it was an automatic aid incident that occurred in the Meadowbrook area outside the city limits. The incident was about 3 miles outside of our jurisdiction. Our Engine 1 was the first fire unit on scene. They initiated fire suppression tactics and strategies on it. Our Battalion 1 responded as well, and he was the first chief officer on scene. He quickly assumed command and gave orders and direction to the incoming units until their chief officers arrived. And just to show that the system worked, we were committed for about 2 hours to that incident. Riverside County provided a cover engine in our Station 1 so that the city was still protected while our personnel were out there on the fire. So that concludes my report tonight. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions?
I have one.
Mayor Pro Tem Green?
Yeah. Going back to turnout times,
Yes.
okay, what is going to be your performance goal for your turnout time? I know it's going to be different from structure versus turnouts, full turnouts versus EMS. Do you have a goal?
We do. We have a draft policy. I've sent it to the city manager. Myself and Chief Samuels have worked on what we believe is a realistic time. We didn't put it together until we had a month of data.
Okay.
So we'd kind of see where we're at and what our goals were. I personally think the national standards are unachievable, and for a EMS incident, the national standards are 1 minute. We're looking at a turnout time for us for a medical incident of about 1 minute, 30 seconds, and for a fire about 1 minute, or 2 minutes for a fire call. So 30 seconds longer to put on that personal protective equipment.
Okay.
So,
All right. Just wanted to know.
yep, we've identified it. It's in draft format right now, and we're just trying to go over all those documents and get them approved.
Okay, thank you.
You did? You good? I'm good. Any other questions? Congratulations on Saturday's event. We really, it was a great time.
Thanks to the crews behind me for their assistance. It was just, and not just the crews, the entire city. Our city clerk, our city manager, everyone came together and did an amazing job.
Phenomenal job, so.
I do have one question.
Yes.
One other question. You had a cover engine that covered when you guys were on the structure fire out on Greenwald or on 74. Who covered you, 94s?
No, it was nines, Engine 9.
And did they park at Station 1?
They did. We
The whole
went
time?
out there and we offered them food, ice cream. We still have a lot of goodies there, so we made them feel right at home.
Okay.
Awesome.
Was it automatic moved up, or did you request it?
It was automatic moved up. We were getting to the point where we were trying to determine how long our resource was going to be committed before
Right.
we called it, and they had already done it for us.
Okay, good. That's good. Thank you.
Did you show them the new cabinets?
We did show them the new cabinets. That's one of the things they did want to do. They were familiar with the station and they wanted a tour.
Citizen of the Month, you gotta love it. Thank you, Chief. We appreciate you guys so much. Seriously, thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you.
coming.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to public comments. Madam Clerk, can you please read the public comment statement?
Thank you, Mayor. Any person wishing to address the City Council on any matter within the jurisdiction of the city, whether or not it appears on this agenda, is asked to complete a speaker request form available on the back counter. The completed form is to be submitted to the city clerk prior to an individual being heard by the City Council. The City Council has adopted a time limitation of 3 minutes per person. If you're commenting on the agenda item, your comments will be heard at the time that particular item is scheduled on the agenda. Please note that if you're addressing the City Council on items not on the agenda, the Brown Act does not allow discussion of such items. Therefore, the City Council may only do the following: refer the matter to staff, ask for additional information or request a report back, or give a very limited factual response. Members of the public may still submit their comment electronically by sending an email with their comment to publiccomment@canyonlakeca.gov. Comments submitted electronically will be provided to the City Council and included in the official record, but will not be read aloud during the meeting. I have no comments.
Perfect, thank you so much. All right, moving along to consent calendar. Madam Clerk, will you please read the consent calendar statement?
All items listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine matters, status reports, or documents covering previous city council action. The items listed on the consent calendar may be enacted in one motion. With the concurrence of the city council, a council member may request that an item be removed for further discussion. Staff recommends approval of all items.
Perfect, thank you. Would anyone like to pull an item? Nope, I need a motion on this.
Take a motion to.
Second.
We got a motion from Councilmember Welty, and we got a second from Mayor Pro Tem Green. Madam Mayor, can I please get a roll call vote? I'm sorry, Madam, what are you?
Clerk.
You're the clerk. Madam Clerk, will you
Wow,
please?
I just got upgraded here. Wow, I got a promotion.
I'm reading something here and looking, so, Madam Clerk, will you?
The pay may be less, though.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Okay.
Ah, that was good. Can I please get a roll call vote?
Yes. Councilmember Castillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Dane?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Green?
Aye.
Councilmember Welty?
Aye.
Mayor Smith?
Aye.
Motion carried.
I'm allowed one, so that's the only one tonight. All right, moving on. We're going to look at urgency items. So the first one that we want to talk about that I brought forward to this evening is a standing committee between the POA and the city. We're going to take up two, Dale. The second one is going to be the discussion item. So this is a committee that has been brought forth in discussion between POA members and some people on the council. We've had a lot of joint ideas that we've talked about, and we think now is the proper time to do a standing committee that's agendized between the POA and the city. So I just want to get my my colleagues' approval to allow me to create this standing committee, and suggested by the clerk, not the mayor, we're going to do a roll call vote to see if this is okay to do. Any discussion on it before we hopefully move forward?
Is this in place of the roundtable, or is
Nope,
this in
not at all.
addition? Okay.
This is addition. This is outside of the roundtable. This is more of a call to action on some of the things that we're talking about between the two entities. So this makes it more precedent and agendizes it a little bit, so it's a little bit more directed as opposed to just a open-ended discussion.
How often are you?
Once a month.
Once a month, and this is a standing committee, so
Correct.
it's not sunsetted, it just.
Nope.
It's perpetual,
Yep.
okay?
Everyone else good? I need a motion.
Is it going to require staff support?
It is. And the city manager can comment on that.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, any standing committee needs to be agendized, and minutes need to be taken, so the city clerk will have to be in attendance to take notes and take minutes.
Will, can it be taken by one of theirs? Could we co-share that? Or does it have to be the clerk?
They're welcome to take their own minutes if they'd like, but we have to take our own.
We have to take our own, okay. Okay, so it has to be,
Yeah.
okay, got it.
Yeah.
No comments. We have a lot of, we share the same group of people that we work for, so there are some issues. I'm not exactly sure, because obviously we haven't talked about this beforehand, where it's going to go, but we can set up as a standing committee, and then if it becomes unfruitful, then we can always remove it. I've always felt, we're in a good place with the POA. The relationship now is pretty solid. In the past, there's been times where they've really gone to war, where things should have been sat in a committee meeting, worked out before the battle started, and I think a lot of them could have been. So this could be helpful.
Any other comments? Can I get a motion? Yes.
I'm sorry, just one question. That, has the POA agreed to this?
Yes.
Committee? Okay.
Absolutely. I need a motion. We don't have to, but we're going to do it anyways. I need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it. Can I get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Castillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Dane?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Green?
Aye.
Councilmember Welty?
Aye.
Mayor Smith?
Aye.
Motion carried.
The next item on this standing committee is who wants to serve at it. If it's okay with the council, I would definitely like to serve on it, but we need to nominate another person. So we can have that discussion. I think they're gonna, the way that it was discussed to me, They're going to probably have the president and vice president, but they're uncertain on that over at the POA. They're still having conversations amongst themselves. But I need someone who's willing to volunteer.
I'll volunteer if no one else is jumping up.
No one else is jumping up?
I can,
I see everybody backing up. Maybe we ought to
it's
have,
not that bad, guys.
maybe we ought to have an alternate just in case one of us can't make it.
Well,
Designate.
I was gonna
I think
nominate
the issue there
Councilmember
would be, we need to avoid chain meetings for the Brown Act. So like, we don't have alternates for standing.
Okay,
Standing
okay,
committees,
so
yeah.
you're either there or you're not.
Right.
Okay, got it, thank you.
Since Larry stepped up, I'm happy with that. I have a lot of experience as a POA, but Larry hit the mic first, so I think we're happy to let Larry take
Wait,
the
I'm
take
gonna
the ship.
I'll back that up. If Dale, if you are, which you brought up a good point, if you want to do that, feel free. Seriously. I didn't hear anything, so I thought we were having a silent moment. I didn't want it to go silent all the way, so that's why I jumped in. But I learned a long time ago, you don't volunteer, somebody assigns you, and so maybe you ought to be assigned.
Maybe it's just a voice from God inside you made you just leap out and say, you know, this is my mission. But I'm happy to serve whatever the council would like.
Okay, I'll rescind my,
Any other discussion on it?
No good deed goes unpunished. Godspeed, my friends.
Okay. Not really. We can, that's fine. Are we good with that? We good? We're good. Okay, let's just do that then. So we're planning on, I believe, Mr. City Manager, we have to bring it next month, right? Is that correct, to formalize it?
A standing committee?
Yeah.
I don't believe so.
I'm sorry, Mr. City Attorney.
Yes, you're going to need to update the resolution consisting of the committees, the members, and I think the city clerk might even have to post something if there's compensation.
Yeah,
for
we'll
attending
need
these
to make sure that we can set a date and a time. That's all included, I believe, in the resolution. So this will be brought back next month. You'll see it on the agenda.
Okay, perfect. Would you like us to conduct a roll call on the appointees, or are you okay with it?
I think we're okay.
Okay.
I have the mayor and I have Councilmember Welty. So if there's any changes, I think we can, when it gets brought back next month, I think.
My only comment is we may want to hold off the meeting till June. There's an election. There's usually a whole switch around to the board philosophy. We could meet, but then, the next meeting would be somebody totally different. And the POA doesn't usually make big decisions.
I believe the people that are going to be on that board are still going to be there.
Okay.
All right, moving on to discussion item, authorization for Councilman Dale Welty to attend the League of California Cities Planning Commission Academy. Mr. City Manager, would you like to take this one, or do you want
Yes.
Councilmember Welty to take it?
Oh, so I can start us off here.
Perfect.
We received a request from Councilman Welty to attend the League of California Cities Planning Commissioners Academy. That we've asked to add, that we added this as an urgency item this evening because the request came in after the agenda for this meeting had been posted. But the conference takes place before our next meeting, so we every year when the council approves the budget for the year, included in that budget is a list of within the city council's budget, within the budget is a list of meetings and conferences along with the dollar amounts that are approved, that the council approves, that the city will pay council members to go to for the year. And because we list them out, if something else comes up, the member of the council wants to attend that's not on that list, really should have full council approval. Otherwise, if ever a council member just kind of decided what events they wanted to go to and it wasn't in the budget, it could get out of control pretty quickly, and it would be hard to manage the budget that way. So we have there's a staff report in front of you that explains the nature of the conference and the costs that would be involved. I will say that we don't anticipate that this will result in any unexpected impact to the general fund this fiscal year because largely due to COVID, we haven't spent a lot of the money that was budgeted in that account. A lot of the conferences that are normally held in person didn't happen this year, so we do have budget remaining in that account, and we would not expect that this would cause us to exceed what's already been budgeted. So with that, the staff recommendation is simply for direction from the council on whether or not to send Councilman Welty to the conference.
Any discussion?
Go ahead.
Forgive me.
Councilwoman Castillo?
The only question I had is, we don't have like a
Planning commission.
A planning commission.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. Is this to prepare us for a future planning commission or give us expertise on how planning commissions work?
I think basically most cities have most cities, big ones, have planning commissions. Effectively, because we don't have one, the council is essentially the planning commission, because we would make any planning decisions. It just adds an expertise to the council. So appreciate if you allow me to go and serve, but if not, this is really your call, and I think the expertise would be nice. I think it would be helpful for the community.
Okay. Any other discussion? We need to put something in these gummy bears.
I mean, not really, I guess not.
Good? The city attorney raised his hand so elegantly.
I would just chime in that although it is obviously a planning commissioner academy and you are not a planning commission, I have reviewed the schedule for the commission, and it is several topics which this council has to grapple with, including SB 9, streamlined housing element issues, as well as AB 1234 and mandatory sexual harassment training, which I encourage you to get while you're up there so that you don't have to do it when you come back. That's all.
I would make that needed as well. I spoke to our city manager on this topic, and he answered all my questions in regards to allocation of funds. And since this council, I believe we only had 2 people that attend the League of Cities, so therefore we budgeted originally for the entire council to attend. So I know this doesn't do any hardship in regards to finance. So with that said, do we need a roll call on this? I'm assuming we do. We've done it that way on the other item. So are we good collectively on sending Dale?
Yeah.
Does that work on this? Okay, we're good? Is that all you need? You want an aye across the board?
Yeah, Mr. Murphy, if you don't mind, we didn't prepare a resolution for this, it'd just be minute order, but it would be helpful to have a vote recorded.
Okay, let's do that then. So I'm going to go ahead and make the motion on the authorization to allow Councilman Welty to attend the League of California Cities Planning Commissioner Academy. I need a second.
Second.
I need a roll call vote.
Councilmember Castillo.
Aye.
Councilmember Dane.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Green.
Aye.
Councilmember Welty.
Aye.
Mayor Smith.
It'd be funny if you voted no, Councilman Welty. Aye.
Motion carried.
I was hoping for that. I've always wanted to do that. Create a business item, but no on it. All right, moving right along. Business item number 4. This is the adoption of resolution 2022-14. This is the authorization of accepting of coronavirus. This is ARPA funds, is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, I'm going to turn this over to our city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's an exciting item in front of us this evening. We've been talking about the ARPA funding for some time. Just as a reminder, ARPA stands for the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, which was signed into law March 11th, 2021. We had a presentation on ARPA at the October 6th, 2021 City Council meeting, and there's a lot of detailed information contained in the staff report, so I'm not going to go into all of those details again verbally, but just by way of summary, ARPA established the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund, known as SLFRF. Through SLFRF, cities, large and small, all across the country are receiving funding allocations intended to support local efforts to contain the negative impacts of COVID-19. The City of Canyon Lake's allocation was just under $2.7 million. Specifically, it was $2,698,416. I'll just refer to it as 2.7 from here on out. We received half of that allocation last year around June. We'll receive the other half at the same time this year. The funds must be dedicated by December 31st, 2024, and they must be spent by December 31st, 2026, or else any remaining funds have to be given back. So clearly, we don't want that to happen. Back when this came out, U.S. Department of Treasury issued what they called their interim final rule, which was their guidance on how the ARPA funding could be spent. Based on that interim rule, we put together some ideas of programs, but those interim rules were very restrictive. There were really only a few things you could spend it on. You could reimburse the general fund for revenue losses attributable to COVID-19. There is a specific formula that was given for cities to calculate that. Our finance director calculated that using that formula, and the number that came out was just $103,468 as Canyon Lake's COVID-related revenue loss. So that was the only amount that we could pretty much just put into our general fund and do with however we please. The rest of it was very restricted. You could make investments in water, sewer, or broadband infrastructure. You could give what they call premium pay to eligible workers who performed essential work during the COVID-19 public health emergency. Or you could use it for expenses directly in response to the public health emergency or its negative economic impacts, including assistance to households, small businesses, nonprofits, or aid to impacted industries. So based on the confines of what was issued in the interim rule, what we had talked about at the October 6th meeting was about five different ways that we thought we might be able to spend the money here in Canyon Lake. The first was to reimburse the general fund for the loss. That was the $103,468. The second was a small business emergency relief grant program. The third was a community gift card program. And then we talked about eliminating using some of the money to be able to eliminate the recycled water ponds owned by EVMWD. And then we talked about embarking on a program that would involve some renovations at City Hall that would make City Hall more accessible to the public and make sure next time there's an outbreak of a virus that we would be better, we'd be in a better position to prevent that spread within the city's offices and City Hall and council chambers. Based on that, the City Council directed staff to move forward with doing a business needs survey to help identify the negative impacts of COVID-19 experienced by Canyon Lake businesses and to explore possible ways of helping to address those impacts. The results of that survey are in your staff report, and we'll go over that a little bit more in a minute. Now, this past January 6th, the U.S. Department of Treasury released what they called their final rule. The final guidelines for how ARPA funds could be spent, and the final rule contained a bit of a surprise. They established a threshold of $10 million. Anything up to $10 million could just be considered revenue loss because of COVID-19. Because the city's entire allocation is just $2.7 million, that entire amount is considered revenue loss, and we have an awful lot of flexibility now on how we can spend those funds. Because of that, staff went to work. We put together a draft work program, which is in front of you here. We worked with our consultants at HDL, with the city attorney, with the city finance director, and also taking into account feedback from our businesses to put this draft work plan together. And I'd like to go over what staff is recommending in terms of that work plan, which is how we recommend that these ARPA funds are spent. There are a number of capital improvement projects on that list, including the City Hall project I mentioned before, that will include design, layout, and equipment that will reduce the likelihood of transmission of COVID-19, and technology upgrades that will allow for increased virtual participation in public meetings. It'll include a different layout inside the public spaces in City Hall. Right now, it's a pretty narrow hallway and small office spaces that the public has to kind of jam themselves into to deal with staff. The concept would be to open it up, have kind of an open counter concept that'll make City Hall much more accessible. One place people can come to receive a variety of city services in a much more open, inviting setting. The second capital improvement project involves station upgrades and equipment for our fire station, for Fire Station 1. $300,000 and further upgrades to purchase equipment requested by the fire department. A list of the upgrades and equipment requested by the fire department is included as attachment 3 to this staff report. Also, repairs to 31542 Railroad Canyon Road in the amount of $210,000. This is the building that the city purchased a couple years back and has been renovating. We're just completing renovations that were paid for by CDBG funds, and this $210,000 is what we believe is everything that is left to be done over there, with the exception of maybe some electrical work at some point, but we have some time on that one. But this would include drywall, interior paint, exterior paint, carpet, exterior glass door replacement, HVAC replacement, and a little electrical work, but not the full extent of what needs to be done there. The last capital improvement project on the list is a boat dock for city enforcement. Our city code enforcement department has an enforcement boat, and we also have a second boat that the city utilizes, and currently those boats are stored in a shed behind the fire station, and so anytime we need to use those boats, we have to haul them out of there and launch them, which is a problem when we are in situations where we have to respond very quickly. And so we've talked about for years the need to have a city boat dock, and ARPA is a great opportunity to get that done. We have a need to replace some vehicles. We have a Yukon and a Sierra, which are both model year 2008s, 14 years old, and they are constantly in disrepair. We've been without the Yukon for a couple months now. It had a significant issue that we couldn't get parts for. So finally we have the parts in, and we're hoping to get that back. But ARPA presents an opportunity to replace those vehicles, and we certainly get long life out of our vehicles. So we would expect to have them for many, many years to come. We need another vehicle for our code enforcement department. Because the city started our own building department, the building department needed a vehicle to conduct all of their inspections and be out in the field. And so we have a Toyota Highlander that code enforcement historically has used, and that has been assigned to the building department. And more recently, the fire department stole it because the battalion chief needs a vehicle to respond to calls on. And so once our fire department command vehicles are fully up and running, which we expect to have happen in the next few weeks here, the Highlander will go back to the building department. We're having some vehicle issues, right? The amounts you see on these vehicles are not just for the purchase of the vehicles, but it's also to have them fully outfitted with, the lights and sirens and decals and everything that we need to put them in service. The work plan in front of you also includes what is called first responder premium pay. Premium pay is one of the things that is specifically allowed in the ARPA program, and the idea is that for first responders who, throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, haven't been able to work from home remotely or work in a controlled environment close to the public, they've had to respond out into the community, into people's homes, and dealing directly with people who have COVID-19. And so, as many other cities are doing, we're recommending a amount of $5,000 per firefighter in first responder premium pay. As we discussed back in October, we're recommending a number of programs that will provide assistance to small businesses who have been impacted negatively by COVID-19. Specifically, it's 2 grant programs, an e-gift card program, and then partnering with the Chamber of Commerce on this. So the first small business emergency relief grant program would be provided to small businesses that can demonstrate an economic hardship due to the pandemic, and they can receive grants up to $15,000 each that can be used for paying rent, utilities, or other operating expenses. The other grant is a small business assistance grant, toward a program that will allow small businesses that can demonstrate economic hardship up to $10,000 that can be used for assistance in applying for other COVID-19 relief funds or business marketing assistance. You may remember we talked about the e-gift card program. Interesting concept. Some cities are doing where an individual can purchase from the city a gift card. Let's say they purchase $25 gift card. The city would match that 25 with another $25 from ARPA funding, and that now $50 gift card could be used at participating businesses just in the city of Canyon Lake. So it's a neat program because it supports local businesses, it encourages people to shop locally, and then provides some funds directly to residents for that purpose. We thought it might be a good idea to partner with the chamber on some of this. These programs are going to need administering, and we thought we would approach the chamber and see if they would be interested in helping the city to administer these programs. And so there is some funding in this plan to go directly to the Chamber of Commerce to compensate them for helping us to administer the business assistance programs. Other government services, we understand that there is in the works a junior lifeguard program coming to the city of Canyon Lake. The city is not putting the program on as a city service directly, but it's something we want to be supportive of. And so one of the early needs of the program this year, the teens who participate in the program from Canyon Lake will be going to Lake Paris for the training. The plan is, if that goes well, then in future years, the program will be moved here to Canyon Lake. And so one of the challenges in the first year is transportation, how to get the teens from Canyon Lake to Lake Paris for the 6-week program. And so the city this plan suggests that we spend up to $10,000 to provide a bus service for Canyon Lakers who need to go to Lake Paris for that program. We currently consult with HDL to help us with this ARPA process and the plan and make sure we stay in compliance. We have an existing contract with HDL, but we're going to need their help all the way through to the conclusion of this program, which will be December 2026. And so we added some money here to cover those costs. And finally, an amount to help mitigate our cost for the sheriff's contract for next year with Riverside County, the amount of $326,000. That's one of our biggest expenses every year, and we expect, we've been told that there'll be another increase next year, and so this can help us mitigate those costs. If you go to page 121 of your agenda packet, these proposed projects or items are listed just kind of line item by line item. If you would like to look at it in one spot, it makes it a little easier. And with that, staff recommends adoption of Resolution 2022-14. Ken Duran, consultant with HDL, is in the audience if there are any specific questions about the ARPA program. And of course, the city attorney and I are also available for any questions.
Mr. City Manager, thank you so much. We've had this conversation in our finance meeting today. So any questions from our beloved council on this? A lot of good items here. I think a lot of thought went into it. One of the questions that I had, and Councilwoman Castillo had too, is if we're maximizing the money we possibly can to help out with our general fund and issues that we're having. And Chris assured us that we've explored all those options. So that's been very helpful. And, you know, we are limited on what the timing on what we can do for this. But any discussion, any questions on this?
I just had one question.
Yes.
So starting on page 124 for the fire department requests, I understand these are all estimates, and once money is approved, shopping will commence. Since they're round numbers, if they need to be adjusted up or down, is that factored into the request for that specific entity?
Yes, and we expect that to happen. Some of the items we have received quotes on, and some are kind of round guesses, round numbers. You brought up the fire department list. So I had asked Chief Latendresse to put together a list of items that he felt would be needed in the near future at the fire station and in terms of equipment and further upgrades to the station. And that list came back much bigger than I had expected. And so we agreed on a round number. I said, okay, we'll go back and tell me, bring the list back so that it totals 300,000. And so he sharpened his pencil and brought this back. But this is a very good start. I mean, there will still be things moving forward that we'll want to do over there, and we can do those a little at a time every year. But we fully expect that there will need to be some adjustments as we go along. We may not spend all of the money in one area, and we might want to shift that to another area. So we would bring those things back to the council to redesignate those funds as we go along.
Okay, so just for edification, for example, the amount to the fire department, it's up to Chief Latendresse to kind of budget accordingly. Here is a proposed list of things that he would like to spend that money on. Costs may be up or down depending on what is determined, right?
Correct. My expectation is that the things that are on this list will get done. Now, if some things end up coming in higher and we can't get to everything on the list, we'll have to prioritize. But yeah, as the department head, it'll be, once approved by the council, it'll be the chief's job to start executing on this and to manage that budget.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why I can't find the page, I just had it, but I know that there was, in this, we're looking at allowing you the authorization of $150,000, is that correct? When we're looking at doing a complete rehaul of City Hall, that's probably, one swipe. So is that gonna, are we allowed to, Mr. City Attorney, when it comes to, I mean, we're authorizing or looking at a budget of 1.2, I think it is, 1.3 on that.
Correct.
And we all know the cost of renovations. 150 is gonna be,
Yeah.
are you gonna have to keep on bringing it back?
This resolution, and I asked the city attorney to draft a resolution that minimized to the extent possible under the law the need to bring every little thing back to the city council. On that one, we're gonna have to bring it back. I mean,
Okay.
that's gonna be a whole, bid process,
Correct.
the whole thing. So that's in fact, I anticipate that'll come back a couple times. We'll want to probably go out to bid for a project manager first, who will then help us draft the RFP for the rest of the project. And so, yeah, you'll be seeing quite a bit on that project. In fact, when the time comes, I've been thinking about recommending to the city that the city council appoint an ad hoc committee to work on that project with staff. There's going to be a lot of, for example, design decisions that are going to have to be made, and kind of what the priorities are for the council to include in the city hall. So,
Question, I mean, just for, so you guys can hear what we discussed today. It's a big number, renovation cost, but I think it's clear if you just walk the facilities, you'll see that it's been a long time coming. And I think we looked at some new terms on how to define this project, because it's more than just an upgrade to City Hall. It's the whole concept of how we're doing business, how we're operating, anything from ADU issues. So it's more extensive than just what the title truly is, and I think most of us can understand that, but I think we got to put it out there to the public that this is something that has never been done at the city, and we have the opportunity to do it, to get us up to, in my mind, code on what we should be and what our vision for the city is and how we look now. To have a place of business that matches that, I think is extremely important. Mayor Pro Tem Green, did you have something?
Yeah, a couple things on the renovation. Remember, this is an enhancement to our operation, and it's something that is not going to be 1 or 2 or 3 year life on it. This is going to be a 20 to 30 to 40 year, probably with some remodel upgrades, but this is an institution, and it's going to be designed that way because it's a government building. It's a seat of government. So I think it's important and long overdue. We had a discussion today about that. Also in that will be a piece, because since we've activated our fire station, we've taken down our emergency operations center. So we need someplace in our planning to be able to have, if that happens to us, a place that we have the ability to put people for communications and the other things that go on to managing an emergency of that scale. The other part is, and it's compliment to the chief, one of the things on a health and safety issue for that fire station is diesel exhaust.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And he believes through the grant process, which it is a health and safety issue, that should be covered, which would be a big ticket item. And I think of all the things on the list, which are really good, that is one of the ones at the top if you don't get the grant, just because of the coal diesel has been known to be a carcinogen, and so it's just easy. So, but the list is very thorough. I think we talked about some of these funds can be moved if let's say our community gift card program doesn't work and doesn't get a lot of attention, those funds can be reallocated to another program that we have. So this is our pot of money that has some fluid to it, but it's at least got a plan on how to disperse the funds based on different projects. So,
Mr. City Manager, has there been any conversation of looking at this room in regards to your current office, looking at renovations for this too? Has there been any discussion of that or thought to have everything in this one building?
There have been this room wouldn't be large enough to house all of the city offices. There have been discussions, and I think ultimately that's going to have to be a policy decision for the city council on what you want to do with this space. In addition to serving as a city council chambers, currently it's also used by a number of community groups as a meeting space. We use it for storage in a couple different locations. So we could continue to use it for storage and allow the community to use it as a meeting space. We can convert it to offices for city use. We could rent it out.
Right.
Number of options we'll have, but those are things we'll still want to talk through and decide.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Councilmember Wolty?
My only comment is this really looks like a budget outlay. You're basically saying, here's the budget for the money. As we all know with budgets, they're a plan for the future. There's always got to be flexibility. A lot of these items need to come back to us. You're going to be spending a fair amount of money, so you'll need to come back and get approval. Some of the items are rather small, important, but not really critical to the council's second approval. But I think this is a good outline, and as we move on down the road, I think, again, we can do some, adapt to whatever changes come down the road.
Correct me if I'm wrong, City Manager, but I think everything here can be approved by you except for the top 4 items.
I'd like to ask the city attorney to chime in on that as the author of the resolution.
Certainly. So the request from the city manager was to present a resolution that allowed the council to make the policy level decision on where these funds should be spent, but offered him some ability to also efficiently execute on those directives. So for example, 3 of the items under 6.2 are vehicle acquisitions, simply because of the rising costs of vehicles. Vehicles, used to be something that was under the city manager's purchasing authority, but now it no longer is.
Right.
And so rather than doing a ordinance amendment to change, to change that to solve this problem, the idea was for this particular fund, since the council has a relatively good idea about those smaller level contracts, what it's going to be spent for, to increase the city manager's purchasing authority. So yes, under 6.1, those are public works projects. You'll notice that's why they're essentially all grouped together. Those are going to require formal bids and awards of contracts that can only be awarded by the city council. When we go to 6.2, we're talking about purchases of the vehicles. Those will all be able to be purchased by the city manager. Premium pay, that will be, not the city manager will have the authority to immediately have that premium pay go out at the appropriate time. Under 6.4, the city manager will have the authority to set those programs up, establish a policy for them, and then enter into any contracts to get them going. 6.5, say the contract already exists for the law enforcement services contract, so there's no need to come back for further action. This funds will simply be allocated for those uses, and then as to the other 2 items, those will be able to be executed by the city manager. So I think the question was, everything here except for 6.1, the city manager will be able to do himself going forward. I think that's an accurate statement.
Okay. Do you understand that a little bit better, Councilmember Wolty?
Yeah.
So they won't
Yeah.
be coming back to us. This is why we're having this discussion.
Right.
We're giving authorization as of right now to move forward with these funds and let the city manager's office.
And that includes the vehicle acquisition. We're voting on allowing that now.
Yes, so the city manager, if this resolution was approved, the city manager would have the authority to follow the procurement process to get whatever bids are required. but then go and purchase those vehicles without further action of the city council.
Yeah, because for a second you were saying that he didn't have that level of authority, but it seems like inside of this
Under 7.1
resolution that would be included.
So under section 7.1 of this resolution, for these programs only, the city manager has increased purchasing authorization. So, for example, if the city manager wanted to go use the general fund to purchase a vehicle worth $70,000, he wouldn't be able to do that. But for this program, if this is approved as it is written, if
He
he's
will.
using the ARPA money, he would be able to do that, just so that, I mean, otherwise, we're gonna have to bring back about 14
Yes.
or 15 contracts.
Exactly.
To be approved.
And then the delays involved in getting the equipment and the vehicles and get them equipped. It could be quite the journey where we can just get it done. Sounds like it'd be, getting those vehicles squared away seems like something we should do fairly quickly.
Personally, I enjoy writing staff reports and resolutions and bringing them back, but I think the idea was you have a good idea of what this is being spent on, and so if you're comfortable with the language, then the city manager will be able to proceed.
I think, I have one more comment. I think this is a great opportunity for us to move the city forward in a lot of respects, upgrade our fleet, and give us a permanent seat for council and city government. So
You don't want to disincorporate?
I do not.
I love it. Councilwoman Dane, you would like to say something?
I have a question.
Yes.
How were the amounts determined for the business grants?
So these are the numbers that were recommended by HDL, actually, and they have been helping cities do similar programs over the country. Maybe they'd be better to comment on this, but my suspicion is that, HDL is also our sales tax consultant. And so they have all of our sales tax data. They know which businesses are operating in the city and how much, activity and revenue that they have. And I suspect these numbers were tailored to Canyon Lake based on their estimation of what the need would be. Frankly, I have some questions. I kind of would be surprised if we get enough applications to use up all this money. This council's been very proactive about supporting business through COVID-19, and one of the things this council did was approve a waiver of the business license fee for businesses that were struggling because of COVID-19. I think, City Clerk, did we have 1 or 2 takers of that program to waive the business license fee because of COVID?
Maybe 2.
Maybe 2. Now, this is, potentially quite a bit more money than that was, and so it might be more worth someone's time to fill out the paperwork and apply. But, if we get to that point, if we're a year into this and we see that, gosh, we still have quite a bit of money left over in this program and we've, marketed it the best we could, we've gotten the word out and we're just not getting more takers, at that point we can bring this back to the council and reallocate those funds for a different purpose.
What happens if the opposite happens? That we get more people applying and we don't think we have enough here?
Well, once the funds that have been budgeted are gone, then that's the end of the program.
Councilwoman Dane, if I could shed light on it as well, we had this conversation today in our finance meeting just on the idea of allocation and also what we can and can't get away with, just the perception. The city manager described to us, at the end of the day, yes, we can use the funds as we see fit for any cities, $10 million and less, and since we got 2.7, we're within that, but at the same side of it, the sense of being audited or whatnot can be looked at as well. So it has to make sense on paper on why these projects need to happen. The City Hall thing is an easy one because we're so out of compliant with the way that this building is functioned and how things are ran. So we did go through all these. I had the same question because it seems like such a small amount when you look at, just our community, even with our businesses. But I think the consultant brought up a pretty good point of just what we probably can or can't get away with our involvement in our tax revenue, because we weren't really impacted much by COVID in regards to that. So, I know that when we laid this out, and Mr. City Manager, feel free to chime in, we did have discussion earlier today about if a vehicle only cost $50,000 and, that's including it, where those funds are going to go then. Can you describe a little bit about that, Mr. City Manager? If we allocated 70 grand for each vehicle and say we only spent 50 or 60, and now we have a kitty of 30 grand on all three of them.
Yeah, just to clarify again, that 70 grand isn't just for the purchase of the vehicle, it's for the outfitting,
Yeah.
and all. But, yeah, I mean, and I would expect some of that to happen, that, these are round numbers, or our best estimates of what the costs are gonna be. But, as we go through the program and realize, oh gosh, well, we didn't spend all of the money, we can certainly shift that around. If we get to a point where, oh gosh, we have money left over in several of these categories, but we really underestimated, what the need was gonna be from the business community, we could certainly shift more funds. We could shift funds over to that program. So we have some flexibility as we move along.
I think that the city manager has worked really hard on these numbers. I wouldn't necessarily want to open them up for debate or discussion on that, but maybe the idea of allocation, if we do, for instance, only spend 50 or 60 on a vehicle, for example, would you like direction from us to maybe pick one of these items that we would like to see more? It seems like Councilwoman Dane would definitely like to see more on the business front. Could we maybe give that guidance this evening that if a couple of these items come under budget, that we go ahead and kick that over to the business side of it?
We could do that. Maybe let me recommend that we set a time frame.
Okay.
So, maybe we come back in 6 months, let's call it, and, I'll give you an update on kind of where we are with the programs and where the spending is, and we can have take another shot at making adjustments at that point if we need to. And then if we need to, we can do it again 6 months after that. And I feel like this is a sizable enough amount of money and big enough projects we're taking on that we should probably be looking at this as a full council periodically anyway.
I'm good with that.
Just comment, there are other resources available through, I think it's through the ARPA funds, but the Riverside County is putting out a restart loan program for businesses that want to start or basically restart after the pandemic. It's a loan program. They're also giving business classes to get people that they can get started. So the point is that they do have the restart, and the information is available on the chamber site. So if anyone's interested, they go to the chamber site. I doubt that this is the end of the road for support for businesses through the ARPA fund. I suspect the city of Canyon Lake may have their bucket, but I think there'll be other buckets. So I think it's important that we as a city and a council, that when these come across our radar, that we need to make sure they're publicized to the business community. And I think the chamber is are the business advocates in the community. I think working through them as we're working through the rest of the grants will be very important. So we'd want to encourage the chamber and the city to work together to find any other programs that would support people through this recovery period we're going through. So again, there are other programs that are available, and hopefully more will come up, and we need to keep everyone informed.
That's a good point, if I may. One of the grant programs we're suggesting, the Small Business Assistance Grants, that's really one of the main purposes of that grant. There's a lot of grant money out there, but a lot of businesses just, they're not seasoned in applying for these grants or navigating those. And so this Small Business Assistance Grant would provide funds to help, have a professional help these businesses apply for those larger grants.
Any other questions from anyone? I need that thing that's called a motion.
Motion? I got it. It's a motion.
Mayor Pro Tem Green with the motion. I need the second on it.
I'll second it.
Oh no, I gotta give it to Councilwoman Castillo. Dale, it's been the Green Welty show.
I was watching your finger. It's like a draw. As soon as she wiggled, I hit.
I've been in this seat for almost 3 months, and you guys have seconded and motioned everything, so it's exciting to hear the other side. All right, so I need a roll call.
Councilmember Castillo? Aye. Councilmember Dane?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Green?
Aye.
Councilmember Welty?
Aye.
Mayor Smith?
Aye.
Motion carried to adopt Resolution 2022-14.
Thank you. Moving on, for those of you who are following, we're now on business item 5. This is the introduction and first reading of ordinance number 218, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Canyon Lake amending Chapter 5.25 of the Canyon Lake Municipal Code regarding short-term rentals and increasing fines pursuant to SB 60. The city attorney is going to take this one on.
Thank you, Mayor. This one is relatively straightforward. The city council has previously taken action to prohibit short-term rentals commonly run by companies like VRBO, Airbnb within the community following significant number of complaints and the analysis of city code enforcement regarding the nuisance activities that occur at these properties. City staff, as you heard the report earlier, has made significant gains on getting these nuisance uses under control to the point where we get very few complaints compared to this time last year or the year before. But apparently that hasn't been the case in every community. Not every community has been as successful at Canyon Lake in addressing this topic. And there are some communities, some of which I do work for, where even the maximum fines of $1,000 per violation aren't a sufficient deterrent to the activity because there's simply too much money to be made. So the legislature has decided to increase the maximum fine that can be issued by a city for a violation of a short-term rental prohibition or regulatory ordinance up to $5,000. So the state law change under SB 6 is not self-executing. The city council would have to amend our own ordinance, which establishes our fine schedule. And so that's what you have before you today. I've included on page 128 of your packet a red line of the section regarding criminal penalties that explains the increases. So it used to be that for an infraction, it was a fine of $100 for the first offense. Now it's $1,500 for the first offense. A substantial increase. For the second violation, it used to be $200, but now it's $3,000. And for a third violation within 1 year, it used to be a maximum of $500, but now it is $5,000. So our anticipation is that this will be an increased deterrent beyond the aggressive enforcement that we've already had from our magnificent code enforcement department, that if we do have a troublesome property, that they will now have the ability, if a violation occurred, for example, 3 days in a row, they would have the ability for over the course of those 3 days to assess fines of $9,500. We think that that is a pretty significant deterrent to this type of behavior, and we recommend that the city council adopt this ordinance. I would note that nothing is ever free from Sacramento. There's always a deal you have to make with them if you want to do something like this. So you'll notice that in addition to simply raising the fine amounts, we do have to have the ability of the city manager to hold a financial hardship hearing. If someone does get assessed one of these very large fines and they are able to prove with sufficient evidence that they are unable to pay it, the city manager would have the ability to reduce that fine. Now, I can tell you that that's unlikely to occur.
The reduction or the?
No, I'm sure the city manager will be very fair and will follow the intent of the law when he makes a determination on whether to reduce the fine or not.
Seems only fair that then I would have the ability to increase the fine.
This is true, all power.
But mostly, I can let you know, if we did have a troublesome property, the fines are going to be the least of their concerns. We also have the ability to criminally prosecute violators of our ordinance and to bring civil cases seeking additional penalties. So if we do have a difficult property, we would like to bring all tools available to bear, but this is just one more tool that we can now use.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. Ruby, would you mind coming up here real quick? I got a couple questions for you, but before I realize that I turn it over to the city attorney without turning it over to the city manager, did you have anything to add?
Yes, I would have just said, I'd like to ask the city attorney to make the presentation on this.
I only knew that because we prepped before this meeting. Ruby, I just have a couple questions for us because I know you're our boots on the ground and we've dealt with a couple issues. I believe 3 or 4 council meetings ago, we had the discussion amongst us about a couple properties that we were trying to decide if we should truly enforce a misdemeanor or not because they just weren't compliant. They weren't responding to you. They were doing it anyways. Have we issued any fines of the ordinance that we put in place?
For residential?
Yes.
Or short-term?
Short term, for short term.
For short-term, yes,
Okay, and have they paid those fines?
they have.
Okay.
They've tried to appeal them, but they can't prove that the violation didn't exist. So they have the burden of proof, and
Would they
they've upheld
appeal
it.
to the Riverside County?
Data ticket.
Data ticket?
That's how they, yeah. So you get a hearing officer along with the
Interesting.
officer that issued the citation.
Okay.
So the officer gives their statement as well as the
Okay.
violator.
So we're not going to use data ticket any longer if we amend it. It will be the city manager?
Only for the ability to pay determination, it would be the city manager.
Okay, so they still will have an appeals process through data ticket.
Right, and I would just like to point out that this is not something that is unique to this provision for the city manager.
Right.
There are other provisions in our code, including, I believe, the EMS response fee, where if someone has a financial hardship, the city manager has to make a determination. So it is something that the city manager's office is capable of handling.
Okay.
I thought you said capable of paying. I'm like, all right, I guess we're giving them that authorization.
And we don't have to give the state back any money?
Not for this. The state usually is the one giving the money or giving you a mandatory duty that you have to comply with without giving you money to actually comply with it. So,
Thank
Like
you.
trash.
yeah.
How do you feel about it?
It's good.
Okay. That's what I wanted to hear. Any questions?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment.
Yes, absolutely.
Based on my extensive online research on Facebook community groups, the people of Canyon Lake like that this is a
Yeah.
prohibition.
I agree.
I think they would probably be in favor of stricter penalties.
I would 100% agree.
Because the commentary is, we pay for these amenities, you're not paying for these amenities. Don't.
I know
do this.
firsthand that I've had a few of those residents reach out to me, and I know I've been in communication with you on those properties, and they notice that we're doing something about it, and they're pleased that this council took a stance like we did. After Temecula did their thing, we did ours, and it's been nothing but positive, so I would second that. Any other comments?
I just comment, I think this is a good thing. I think you've kind of got a lull in this problem right now, primarily because of the season, but I think about May, you're gonna, it's gonna come back. So we're all happy because there isn't much going on, but that will change as it gets to be warmer. So it's coming. On the POA, we had a lot of rules about the 30-day rental, and it was extremely impossible to police and to enforce. And then any time that we did enforce it, there's a whole appeal process and a legal process. And I believe this is a great answer to all of that. I mean, when you find somebody $100 and they're making $4,000 or $8,000 a month, it really isn't a deterrent. And I think that we're getting to the dollar amounts where there is a real deterrent. And now we actually have some, ability to go to court and deal with this. And I got to give 2 thumbs up. I guess I can only give 1, but okay, you get my 1 thumb up on this one.
Thank you, Councilmember Welty. Anyone else? I need a motion on this.
Motion.
Second.
I need a roll call vote.
I'm sorry, that was a motion by Councilmember Castillo and a second by Councilwoman Dean?
That sounds perfect.
Okay. Councilmember Castillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Dane?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Green?
Aye.
Councilmember Welty?
Aye.
Mayor Smith?
All right.
Motion carried to approve the introduction and first reading of ordinance number 218, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Canyon Lake amending Chapter 5.25 of the Canyon Lake Municipal Code regarding short-term rentals and increasing fines pursuant to SB 60. For the record, there were no public comments.
Thank you. All right, moving on to Resolution 6, adoption of Resolution number 2022-15, amending the Conflict of Interest Code of the City of Canyon Lake, repealing Resolution 2020-03. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you. I'd like to ask our city clerk to make the presentation on this item.
Nice pitch.
Thank you. Okay, so this item is something that's required by the Political Reform Act. This is something that we bring to the City Council every 2 years. We amend the Conflict of Interest Code, and it states which officials and employees in the city must file a Fair Political Practices Commission Form 700. Our code was last brought to the City Council for adoption in 2020, and this year with the creation of the Canyon Lake Fire Department, we have added a few positions. So the changes to the code would be the addition of the battalion chief. We've also added our city accountant, human resources specialist, and we've cleaned up some of the titles. Previously, the fire chief was stated as fire chief/consultant, and our code enforcement was listed as special enforcement. So we just cleaned up some of those titles. Those are really the only changes to the conflict of interest code. So staff is recommending adoption of this resolution.
Awesome. I don't see much discussion on this, so do we want to wait for Larry, or do we want to just play a song and dance? I need a motion, and if there's not any discussion, but first, are there any comment cards?
No public comments.
I knew there wouldn't be. Any discussion on it? Pretty simple, right? I need a motion.
Motion.
Second.
I need a roll call vote. Wait. Perfect. Yes! Got Mr. Green in it.
All right, so we have a motion by Councilmember Welty and a second by Councilmember Castillo to adopt resolution number 2022-15. We'll do a roll call. Councilmember Castillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Dane?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Green?
Aye.
Councilmember Welty?
Aye.
Mayor Smith?
Aye.
Motion carried to adopt resolution 2022-15.
Perfect. All right, moving on to our last discussion item. This is number 7, designation of voting delegate for the Southern California Association of Governments. I'm going to turn this over to our city clerk.
Thank you. All right, so tonight we have a recommendation for a discussion. The Southern California Association of Governments, SCAG, has a regional conference every year. This year, it will be held May 5th and 6th at the JW Marriott Desert Springs in Palm Desert. SCAG requests that each member city appoint a delegate and alternate to vote at this assembly. So we need council to discuss who they would like to be the delegate and who they would like to be the alternate. Currently, we only have one person who serves on SCAG, and that would be Mayor Smith. And so it's up for discussion.
Discussion?
The National Day of Prayer is on the 5th.
Oh, man. That's right. Thank you. Because yeah. They asked me to MC the thing.
But what time is that?
It is May 5th, isn't it?
It is May 5th.
You might be able to do that in the morning and then head over to the conference.
Because it's Thursday and Friday is the convention, correct?
Correct.
Voting's on Friday?
Correct.
Okay, that's good to know. I'm okay. I can continue to do it. I mean, I'm the only one who serves on SCAG, so if it's okay with everyone here, I just need an alternate who wants to go out to the desert. It's actually a good event. Chris and I went 3 years ago
Yeah.
when they did. It's been
3 years.
It's been 3 years, hasn't
It
it?
has, yeah. Yeah.
You went out too?
Mhm.
That's right, you went out too.
That's right, you are. I do plan to attend this year as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem Green?
I'll defer because I have a very important Little League game.
Kudos to Councilwoman Castillo. We are doing the grand opening on Saturday, and her kid gets a triple.
Wow.
Yes. So dedication to Councilwoman Castillo being there. Mayor Pro Tem Green, are you saying that you would like to attend? Yeah. Perfect.
Let's open it to the other two just in case.
Would you like to go?
I'm good.
I'm good.
You good to not going, or good?
Yeah, I'm good to not go.
Good to not go. Council.
I'm good. I'm good with Larry going.
You good on Larry going?
Not you, though. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think the Mayor Pro Tem would make a great team.
Okay, all in favor, can I get a aye?
Aye.
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 Perfect. All right. Moving right along, city manager comments.
Just a few quick things. We have our joint meeting with the POA and EVMWD on Thursday, March 31st, 6 PM at the Lodge. Last week, the annual notices that we send out on the EMS subscription program went out. So we've been getting some calls at City Hall on that. And, interestingly, almost, if not all of the calls have been about people wanting to make sure that they are subscribed to the program. It's been very encouraging. Just a reminder to everybody that the June City Council meeting is the cutoff for either opting out of the program, or if you're currently opted out and you want to join, that would be the deadline to join. We had a fantastic grand opening of our fire department on Saturday. The chief touched on that, so I won't go into more detail. I would like to congratulate Councilman Welty on being named chair of LEJWA. That'll be fantastic for us for Canyon Lake to to have one of our members chairing, Lejua.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And lastly, since we recently started our own building department, I wanted to brag a little bit. We received an email on Monday from a resident who had a pretty significant issue over the weekend. I know Mayor Pro Tem Green helped step in and get staff involved. But I'd just like to read the email. It's from Amy Bastman. It said, "Dear City of Canyon Lake staff, I'm writing to let you know of a situation that occurred on February 24th, 2022, in which two of your members, David Harnden and Mindy Latendress, went above and beyond what is required of them to help our family and ensure we had power to our home over the weekend. Our house is in the middle of a solar panel installation and upgrade, and throughout this process, the company has done a great job. However, on February 24th, the company outsourced our electrical panel upgrade to a reputable electrical company. However, this company had a new employee doing our panel upgrade. Right away, I knew something was not right. The electrician had a bad guy vibe and was constantly on the phone talking about his challenges. Since our garage had to be open and the house power was completely off, I sat in the front yard all day to oversee the project. At 1 p.m., Edison came by to turn the power on, but there wasn't even a panel in the wall. At 3:30 p.m., David Harnden, the city's senior building inspector, came for the second time, and there was still no panel in the wall. David and Mindy Latendress, the city's building permit technician, realized that something needed to be done. David called me and let me know that I had a situation on my hands and could be without power over the next 3 days. He explained how it's his job to ensure the homeowner was protected and that they didn't feel like the electrician had my best interest in mind. I definitely agreed. The electrician had been verbally abusive to both David and my solar representative on site and was obviously in over his head. David and Mindy not only recognized a terrible situation, but went above and beyond by calling us and allowing us to bring in another local electrician who worked into the night to restore power. Then, on David's day off, coordinated with Edison to ensure our power stayed on. Knowing that we had so many people on our side that helped us through this process, including David, Mindy, Larry Green, the Mayor Pro Tem, the City Council, and the City Manager, gave us a new appreciation for living in a small city such as Canyon Lake. The actions of these individuals to help us collectively is usually something you only see in feel-good movies. Thank you, David, Mindy, and every one of you for stepping up above and beyond your professional responsibility and helping us through a difficult situation. Sincerely, the Bastman family. And to me, that is entirely why we started our own building department. And I think that we should all be very pleased at the direction things are going. It's not perfect. We still have things we're smoothing out. But I believe the level of service that residents are receiving from our building department is far above what we were seeing before.
City Attorney, I think you need to hire her to start writing your staff reports. Very well done.
Actually, I must say, she's quite a woman. She's a captain for LA City Fire, and she's upward mobile. And for those who don't know, the LA City Fire just had their first female fire chief appointed March 1st. And so everybody's kind of excited. But very good people, and thanks to everyone that chipped in, because I was ready to have some house guests that was a couple of days because of the temperatures. So again, thank you for the team, everyone.
Anything else, Mr. City Manager?
That's all I have. Thank you.
Perfect. Since Mayor Pro Tem Green already started, and he's already got 20 or 30 seconds off of his 3 minutes, I'm going to let him finish where he started. You can take us off.
Actually, it's pretty easy. RCA didn't meet.
Okay.
Emergency preparedness isn't till Thursday, which is this week. I did go to your coffee this morning, and that was a good table of folks there. A lot of positive things were exchanged, and so I think it's a good move. That's all I've got.
Council Member Dane, will you take us off next?
Mine will be very fast, too. Just one more thank you for the fire department grand opening. I had so many comments from people about how much they enjoyed it and how excited they were, and it was really nice to see people not just from the community, but from outside the community supporting. So congratulations to everybody.
Awesome. Councilmember Castillo?
I too want to echo those sentiments, lots of positive feedback. It was great to see the community so excited and feel a fraction of what we have been feeling when we get to see it. So it was definitely a point of pride for everyone to see the amazing work that's been done. Councilmember Dane and I on the 16th have the 9/11 Tribute Committee meeting. I believe that is in the POA conference room again. Looking forward to that because I know that there was some space between the last meeting and lots has been accomplished in the interim, so we're excited to report back on that coming in April. But a lot of good work being done on that. It's going to be fabulous. And that's all I have.
Perfect, thank you. All right, Councilmember Welty.
I would just like to thank the council and for everything they've done today. I think we've done a lot of great work, especially when you can get $2.6 million to benefit the community. That's a great thing, and especially to benefit business. I went to an WRCOG meeting, executive session. It really had to do with internal systems, the way they work. We have a brand new director. I got to really appreciate the way he came across and what he said. It was really good. I maybe trust a little too early, but I listened to this man talk, and I'm thinking, you know what, I think we're lucky to have him. So I just want to let you know. Leisure, as you know, it just was announced. I think I was on the phone with my wife, and I came back, and suddenly, so now I'm the chairman. So that's the rule I always take. Never go to the bathroom or be on the phone when they're trying to find somebody to be appointed to something. Just make sure you're on your toes, because anyway, that's an honor, and it's good news. Larry, the discussion about alum, we're not sure. It was at a meeting, Leisure, this morning. We're not sure we're moving ahead with alum this year or this spring. The alum plant is going to be down for 6 months in the period we would normally do the treatment. So they're trying to see and pull out the latest tests out of the lake to see if there's how threatening the level of phosphorus is. Right now, it's very, very low from the last test in December. They're going to pull the February test. Doing it at the wrong time is not the most effective thing, but if the loads come, TM loads come in high, they're going to probably move ahead and do it anyway. So that's kind of on hold. Other than that, I just, the Ukraine thing bothers me a lot. It's very sad. You see real heroes, put their lives on the line. Fortunately, in America, we don't have to put our lives on the line to have freedom very often. But these guys are out there getting hit every day, and I've been around a long time, and in my mind, we have fought too many wars where we've either gone into to kind of protect our energy security, or the people shooting at us got their guns from the energy and oil. And it's been a long process of this, and I wish to God that we would do whatever we can for the West to become independent on energy. And we have this division between carbon energy and green energy as if they're opposing forces, right? But the reality is we need, as a nation, I believe, to do everything we can to stop depending on these third world tyrants to provide us with our energy, and providing funds to these third world tyrants through buying their energy so they can shoot at us and other brave people like the Ukrainians. So I just want to encourage as a nation to kind of put down the barriers and the differences we have and come together with one goal. And the goal, as far as I can see, that we should really have is to become, the West to become energy independence. And again, too many wars have gone on because we've either needed the energy or somebody shooting at us with money we gave them to buy energy. And that's just my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. All right, in closing, Saturday was such an amazing day that we all got to experience. I want to share a little story with the council. I had the opportunity to hang out with the chief's wife at the event, and to see the dedication that the chief and the family has given us, this community, in the last year has really put it into perspective of just the sheer amount of work that has taken place by our city staff, by our council, by the chief and his family and team. And it's very humbling for me because my wife was there and she got to see what we've been talking about for so long. And then to see boots on the ground with Chief's wife, who was having to deal with the crazy schedule that the chief has been on for the last year, made me really emotional, but also just so appreciative that we did something that has been said cannot be done for so long. So I, from the bottom of my heart, just want to thank my colleagues. I want to thank the staff for all the hard work. I want to thank the chief and your family for allowing us to borrow you to the extent that we did, because you were truly underpaid, my friend, for the last year, and we're just so grateful and so appreciative. So from the bottom of my heart, it was just such a phenomenal event, and it means a lot. It means a lot to our community, and it was just so positive. Before I start tearing up, I'm going to give a couple updates. We just celebrated our 45th year anniversary at RTA. And so what we've done is all rides for community members are 25 cents. So there's no excuse for anyone in this room. Get on a bus, it's only a quarter, and experience almost a free ride. RTA continues to do some really good stuff with some of the needs and wants of the community when it comes to transportation, and that's just one of the programs. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is we've had some concerns from community members with all the new construction by the old Walmart. The problem is that the traffic light pattern was wrong, so that's been fixed. So you might see traffic moving quicker through Railroad Canyon right there by the freeway, so look for that out there. Lastly, I want to say thank you for Council Member Dane for coming up for In and Out with the mayor. We do this little thing where we do In and Out with all the city staff, and it's been a great little event that we've done every month. So I just want to say thank you for joining me, and Mayor Pro Tem Green this morning for coffee as well. We've had some really good conversation, and it's been very helpful. We do have one event coming up March 23rd. It's going to be called Conversation at the Country Club. This is going to be an event where several board members, Darcy Burke, our president for EVMWD, is going to be there. I think we have a school board member that's going to be attending. So this is a great opportunity for community members to come out and have a conversation at the country club. Darcy and myself, we will be providing appetizers. We had about 25 to 30 people last time. This is an opportunity for those of you that can't make it to the coffee to come out and hang out with us in the evening. So with that said, any other announcements that anyone would like to make before we close this thing out? All right, the last announcement for the evening is that our next regular meeting will be Wednesday, April 6th at 5 p.m. for closed session, at 6:30 p.m. for open session. I'm going to call the meeting to adjournment at 8:26. We did it.